What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my review of Preacher, Season 2, Episode 12, titled On Your Knees. Alright, so this was a really good episode. I enjoyed it a lot. It really had everything. It was funny. It had some action, maybe not the best or the most action we've ever seen, but it had some. It had all the characters were present, so we got to see everybody that we've grown attached to, that we either love or hate, with the exception of Featherstone. But I don't really hear too many people talking about how they're a huge Featherstone fan, right? But yeah, so it was definitely a good episode. We learned some new things. We got some more insight into maybe some character motivations. We also saw some character evolution in some of our favorite characters. So this episode was really jam-packed as far as info goes and the content of the episode. It was a really, really good one. It's sad to say that the next episode is the last one, but it should be even better than this one. At least that's what we're all hoping, right? Okay. Now, this episode, like I said, was pretty jam-packed, so I'm going to do my best to get everything in there. I'm sorry if I leave something out. I know I've been doing that a lot lately, but I'm going to do my best to get it all in there in, 15 minutes or under, but we may go a little over today just because I got a lot on my mind after this one. So, all right, let's start with Eugene and Adolf. I left them out last week, and it wasn't intentional or anything, but I get so much going and so much stuff I like, and I love the trio that I get so caught up into talking about them, Airstar and the Saint, So, all right, let me stop rambling. Let's move on. So, all right, so I'm not going to go into it too much here because it was in the last episode. I don't want to eat up too much time on it. I think I'm going to make a video explaining it because I don't think a lot of people are getting the meanings behind the hell circumstances that everyone is living in hell, right? All right. So it's basically what you're doing is living out your, the worst day or the worst days in some cases of your life. And in some cases it's your last days, in others it's not. We see that in the Hitler one, it's not his last days. It's what started him on the course to where he went crazy. Now, I understand a lot of people are saying they're making him sympathetic. They're making him seem like a good guy. I guarantee you that's going to change by the end, maybe not of this season, but by the end of his story playing out, which I think will finish this season, where he's not going to be a sympathetic character. Like I said, I'm not going to go explain it scene for scene, but I really liked the Hitler hell scene. I thought it was well done, and if you really look at all the things that caused it, yeah, all right, I can see how it makes him somewhat sympathetic, but it also makes him more of a pathetic character because it's it's things like jealousy or shame or cowardice that drive him down the course. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, like I said, I think I'm going to do a video about it because I got a lot to say about it. Okay, so after we got the Hitler hell scene, we basically go on a course where Eugene is trusting him. Bad move, in my opinion, but maybe a good move for Eugene because it looks like he might actually make it out of hell with the aid of Adolf, even though I think it's going to be like a crossing at the end, So in this episode, they get a little bit further. Now, where we start off here is in Eugene's personal hell, but it's his when he's in the whole hell, which is even worse. I guess it takes the real incident that happened in your life, the real worst day of your life, and just adds shit that wasn't there that also eats away at you, right? Like it adds Jesse in one of Eugene's. In this one, it adds I guess some sort of Boy Scout leader that tried to touch Eugene or did touch him one time. So we get more insight into that, into how that works, right? How the hell you get while you're in the hole is worse. Why it's worse than the hell you get when you're in your regular cell. Like I said, I'll explain more on that in another video. All right, so we get all that. That was good stuff. They're getting closer and closer. It really looks like they're going to escape. The warden is pretty upset that they're gone, and she seems worried later on in the episode that Eugene and Hitler are gone and they can't find them. She seems really worried about it. It's probably because of the Satan, the devil, whatever, is obviously somebody to be feared. So I would imagine that, she's scared of any repercussions that may come of that. All right, so that's all I got to say about that for this video. But like I said, look out for another one where I'm explaining hell and Hitler's hell and Eugene's hell all a little bit better. All right, that being said, let's get on to the really, really good stuff of the episode. We got the Saint of Killers. Now, not only did we get to see how the hatred fuels him, he was punching away at that truck for 2 weeks, almost non-stop, right? And, he's still getting the visions of the past. Now, these aren't the visions that we've seen before. We'll get to seeing a different side of the Saint of Killers. And we'll get to seeing the love he had for his wife and daughter and some of the good times he had. I guess now that he's out of hell, those memories resurface more. Or maybe we just didn't get to see them yet. Who knows? But that all seems to be adding to his anger and his rage and his hate. If you haven't watched my videos explaining the Saint of Killers, watch them. They're pretty good. It's like a two-parter. They're definitely on the channel. The Saint of Killers Explained. You can just type that into your search bar if you want. But that'll give you a little bit more insight into what fuels the Saint. So it's basically hatred, right? So much hate that even hell is a little scared of him. It looks like they're changing up some of this for the show, but I think they're sticking to the theme of it all. And it looks like they're going in a direction with the Saint of Killers that I wasn't sure if they were going to go into in the show. I left it out of my explained videos. I explained it actually in those videos, why I left it out, because I wasn't sure if they were going to do it on the show. But it looks like it. So good stuff ahead. Really good stuff ahead for the Saint of Killers. Telling you right now. Now, so we got to learn more about his motivation and see his hatred and how he was planning out how he was going to do this to Jesse. He wanted Jesse on his knees because Jesse put him on his knees. Now, one thing you have to remember about the Saint is he doesn't like to be disrespected. He doesn't like to feel less than he is or just less than, right? He's someone that prides himself on power and respect and fear. And when those things are flipped on him, he does not like it at all. And it only makes his hate grow stronger. So he doesn't just want to kill Jesse here. He wants to make Jesse pay. He plans on scalping him. And there was a nice parallel, too, to when Cassidy says later that Jesse breaks people's bones because he likes the sound of it. Well, the Saint of Killers is talking about how this guy scalped people because he liked the sound of it. Sorry. So that was a nice parallel to what the Saint of Killers knew what he was going to do because he wanted to hear the sound. And Jesse, from season 1 when he breaks Donnie's arm in the bar. That was good stuff there. So we even got to see a lot more of a human side to the Saint. So it adds more to his sympathetic. Also adds more to his badassery, but his mystery. Because it seems like he's lost quite a bit of power. Hoover even says to him that, you've lost power. And at first, I chalked that up to him being tired from, pounding at the truck. But then later on, when I see him fighting Tulip and Jesse and Cassidy, I feel like he was less powerful. Not just because he didn't have the weapons, but he seemed less strong, less fast. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with his weapons being away from him. Or something to do with him being out of hell or not escaping from hell, like not supposed to be out of hell. I'm not really sure, but it seemed that he definitely seemed underpowered, and he seemed to know it, and everybody else seemed to be figuring that out as well, including Tulip, which was great with their fight scene because she gets some of her confidence back. And the Saint kind of lost some of his confidence and some of his strength. And it was nice to see that shift in power. Even though the Saint was dominating Tulip for most of it, towards the end, she kind of realized that, especially without his weapons, this guy isn't to be as feared as before. Well, I don't know if she really knows what to make of it, but she just realizes that she does have a chance, even though I guess she really doesn't. You get what I'm saying? But she just felt powerful again in that moment, and that was nice to see. And you saw it through the acting of Ruth Negga. Good job. And And now Jesse, let's talk about him for a second, where he kind of loses his voice there. And we saw that either last episode or the one before that, where he tells the Air Stars people, Her Stars people. I always say it. I don't know how to say it, so I always say it twice. I sound like an idiot probably. So he tries it on his people, and it doesn't work the first 2 times, and then he does it a third, and then it works on them, the word of God. And then he tries to do it to the saint, and it doesn't work for some reason. And he says, "I can't hear you, preacher." Really odd. Don't know what to make of that. And then he hits Jesse in the throat, which was totally smart. So now Jesse can't speak. Even if he tries, you know what I mean? So that was all really good stuff. I really enjoyed all of that. Dennis is definitely becoming unhinged. I just want to talk about that real quick. He looks like he's looking for the dog so he can eat it. The puppy. And it's so sick. And I definitely, totally, 1,000,000% feel, if not this season, that Cassidy will have to put Dennis down at some point, eventually in the series. And it's probably going to be a heart-wrenching moment, I would imagine. All right, so, then we see that Her Star is with Tulip and Cassidy, explaining to them what happened. Great scene, by the way. Ar's face and Her Star together, just really good. Even though Her Star didn't reply or comment to Cassidy's comments about how ugly he was, that he was like a bus accident, you don't want to look, but you kind of have to. Which is so true to life. You see people all the time, there's an accident on the road, everyone slows down to look at the accident. You don't really want to see it, but you kind of can't help it, right? That was all really good stuff. He doesn't reply to Cassidy's remarks, but just his whole demeanor and his face, I just love it. I love these characters so much and the way they're portrayed. And let me just remind you, we don't know anything about these characters, really. There's so much more to learn about Jesse and his backstory. We've been getting drips and drabs. I think next season, I thought it was going to be this season, but I was wrong. So it looks like next season we're going to get a lot of Jesse's backstory and probably get introduced to some of his other family members from his mother's side who are interesting to say the least. And then Tulip, we don't really know much about her, and Cassidy too, and then Her Star too. So there's so much to learn about these characters, and the way that they're releasing it in like little drips, I like that because it gives us time to try and figure it out before they give us the next piece of the puzzle. And this whole show is about puzzle pieces, not just because there was an episode of the season called Puzzle Piece, but think about it. It's all about trying to figure out these mysteries. And when we get introduced to new characters, we're getting another piece of the whole grander scheme of things. And you guys may not realize that yet, but when we get down to another season or two, it's going to really start to be evident with you guys that all along they've been slowly revealing this larger puzzle. And I really enjoy the way that they're doing it because they're giving us enough of these characters to make us love them and like them and want to see them and root for them or root against them, depending on who you're talking about. But when they release these little nuggets from the backstory, it starts to make certain things more and more clear. And we see that this episode with the Saint of Killers, how now that we get to see a good time in his life, we kind of get that sense of who this guy really is and what his motivations may really be. And I really enjoy the way that they're doing that. Normally, I kind of like to get it, I don't want to say every episode, but at least within the end of a season, I like to kind of know. You know what I mean? It's okay to have some carryover mysteries, of course, but I like answers every season. And the way they do it in Preacher is they're giving us those answers throughout the season. They're not waiting till the end, or they're not doing it all in the beginning. They're doing it little bits and pieces here and there throughout the season. So we're getting, as we get to know these characters more and more, we're starting to learn more about their past and what brought them here. And I just think it makes for very, very interesting storytelling. So I guess that's pretty much it. That's all I got to say about this particular episode. I mean, I have more to say about the Eugene stuff, but like I said, I'm going to do another video about that. I want to talk about Jesse and the Messiah thing. So when he's watching the Pope on TV, he looks like he's really kind of getting into this idea that he is this Messiah that the Pope is talking about on TV. Remember, he's a preacher. He comes from a very religious family, at least his father's side. So this is a big deal for him, you know. And Jesse is also a very ego-driven character. He's got a big head, literally and figuratively. If you're a fan of the comics, you know what I mean, because his head with his hair just looks so big. Jesse too, his head just looks so big with the hair and all that. You know, but the character too has a very big head. He's very full of hubris. He's very ego-driven. And getting Genesis only made that grow. He was like that before Genesis, which we see through the flashbacks or through just from the beginning of the series, season 1. So it's a very interesting character. And now to give this character, who's full of hubris and ego, this power, which makes it grow, and then tell him that he can be like the next coming of Christ. I don't know, man. Jesse looks mighty into it. And that looks to trouble Tulip and Cassidy greatly, that Jesse isn't automatically laughing this off. Because they know Jesse is not a saint. They know Jesse is, you know, not necessarily a good guy. And that's the point that Cassidy's trying to make at the table. And Tulip just looks disappointed and troubled by the fact that Jesse isn't brushing this off and dismissing it, that he's actually entertaining it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next episode. It looks like Jesse's going to try to accept, because we end on an interesting scene of, you know, her star bending down to Jesse, Jesse putting his hand on his head, you know. So it's really, really good stuff. I like this episode a lot. Oh, and I also wanted to mention, we learned that the Grail has contact with Hell. So that's definitely interesting to say the least. Well, at least her star, maybe not the Grail, but her star is, you know, in league with Hell in some way, because, you know, the warden mentions, she says to Jesse, it's, you know, good thing you have a friend like her star. And that's the reason why that's so interesting is, you know, this is an organization built around religion, Catholicism, heaven, hell, that sort of, I mean, heaven, really. And why would they be in league with Hell? That's going to be an interesting question. Will we find out the answer this season? I think we might, because that question was, obviously it's in Jesse's head, because she said it to Jesse. And so I would imagine Jesse's going to want answers from her star about that. And what's going on with Jesse? Why is his, the word seem to not be working? Maybe it's because Jesse's acting differently than he was when Genesis chose him. I don't know, but we will find out, I'm sure. All right, that's it for this one. Like I said, I got other things to say, but I'm going to cut it here at 17, probably by the time I'm done, 19 or 20. And yeah, I really want to hear what you guys have to say about this one. I like this episode a lot. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of definitely, yeah, probably of the series. Now, I'm not going to say the favorite, but one of. It's up there. I really, really enjoyed this episode. And Preacher just delivers week to week to where it makes the whole season, this season anyway. Last season was a little slow at times and a little iffy. But this season, it's been delivering consistently to the point where this season is really gonna turn out to be one of the better seasons of TV in general, let alone just of this season. So I want to hear what you got to say. Sound off down below about this episode, episode 12, On Your Knees, or about, you know, Preacher in general, season 2, whatever. Sound off down below. Definitely want to hear what you got to say. Or if you just want to comment on my video, definitely do that. Any tips or, you know, anything at all you want to say that you think can make the channel better, make me get more subscribers or better content to you, please sound off down below. All criticism, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, is good criticism in my mind, because it will help me grow and help me make better content for all of you who watch these videos. All right, that's it for this one. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe if you don't already do that stuff on the regular. The comments help as well. You know, just helps the channel out. And yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Always appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic day. And yep, this should be an exciting week till the last episode. So yeah, until next time, I will see you next time. All right, that was a weird ending. I normally don't end them that way. Have a good one.